Allô, Nissan? Hey, grosse tempête, hein?
Hey, Karine, oui, je sais, les vilains bonhommes de neige sont de retour.
Mais avec le Nissan Rogue à traction intégrale, c'est pas stressant.
Exact, il est conçu et testé pour nos hivers. Oh, Karine, il y a un bonhomme dans le Rogue.
Ah, c'est correct. J'ai allumé les sièges chauffants.
Ah, bien joué, Karine. Maîtrisez toutes les conditions. Louez le Rogue S 2026 à partir de 0,4% jusqu'à 36 mois, incluant une réduction fidélité de 0,5% pour les clients Nissan admissibles. Jusqu'au 2 mars, sur approbation de crédit, les conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
I cannot believe that it was just this past Monday that Dominic Anglade resigned as Liberal leader. Like, in my mind, it's been a couple of weeks. Like, no, it was 3 days ago. We kick off the second hour of the Elias Macco Show. One note from Liberal land, as I like to call it. The Quebec Liberal Party will announce their interim leader today. You know, and this will be someone from their caucus. They're down to 19, by the way. Remember, Mary-Claude Nichols left the party in a huff, and then Dominic Anglade resigned. So now they're down to 19 MNAs. One of those 19 will be named the interim leader of the party. And it's interesting to note, generally speaking, interim leaders will not run for the real deal leadership eventually, right? So that's part of the thing. If you want to be interim leader, okay, that's fine. But you usually, and sometimes it's different depending on how things shake down, but usually at the same time as you're named the interim leader, you sort of make a pledge to the party, I'm going to stay out of the real deal leadership race. I will not be a contender. This is why I'm a good pick for the interim label, okay? We'll see who that is. We'll find out today. Now, with that in mind, right, at the start of the week, Monday morning, 8 a.m., nobody knew that Dominic Anglade was going to resign, and then everything happened, right? And since that announcement on Monday, people have been throwing names out there trying to figure out who could possibly take on the role of a Liberal leader. We asked you on this program, and there were a couple of people sending me notes saying, hey, Balarama Holness, maybe he should try to become the leader of the Liberal Party. And you know what? Let's bring Balarama Holness into this discussion because I think he's got stuff to say. And Balarama Holness joins us on the line. Hi, Balarama.
Good morning.
Great to talk to you. Now, I know in the provincial election, we sort of didn't talk. Like we talked before when you started Bloc Montreal as a party. And then during the campaign, I don't know, did you ghost me or what? But we had trouble connecting during the campaign. So let me just ask you right off the top here. How was that experience, the provincial campaign, the new party of Bloc Montreal? And, as we talk about the Liberal Party here, let's first talk about the party you currently lead. Tell me about that party.
Well, it was a phenomenal experience, and I had learned a lot from the previous election. One of the major things was I knew I was not going to be on the debate stages. Also, in the first election when I ran for mayor of Montreal, whether it's Culture Montreal, whether it was the Chamber of Commerce, we were not really included in the democracy, so to speak. So we took a lot of our attention and energy and put it on the ground, and that was our main focus. That's probably why you didn't hear a lot from us. We were really trying to connect with voters on the ground, not waste energy fighting to be on the debate stages. And we also wanted to continue the ideas that we had, which was more autonomy for Montreal, getting a percentage of the provincial tax to stay on the island. So for us, it was really important to keep the momentum going, and I think that we did that.
So, Balarama, let me ask you this, because you start this new party ahead of the provincial election. Let me ask you if you would have done that if the Liberals would have accepted you into their party. Because it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that one of the reasons why you started Bloc Montreal is because the Liberals didn't want you as a candidate. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, and that is a fair thing to say, and I didn't want to, mention that during the election because I didn't want to just, mudsling at the Liberals. But we were in conversations for 3 to 4 months, and the conclusion was my policies and what I represented was too focused on Montreal. As you know, the Liberals are trying to win the regions, and there was no added value to my candidacy for the Liberals, and that's why I said they cannot be the gatekeepers of this election. So we created Bloc Montreal. And so the big issue for me was if the Liberals were not able to mobilize and unite Anglophones and Montrealers, how could they expect to do that in the rest of Quebec? So I was not surprised by the fact that they had such a poor showing. But moving forward, in regards to the leadership race for the Liberals, the way I see it is that if Montrealers were to demand that I jump into the race for the Liberal leadership, then I would be open to it. But however, right now, my view is that they're going to go with a candidate that's going to help them win the regions. And to be blunt, I don't think I have a lot of added value currently for the Liberal leadership in order to actually get a majority government, which is going to require winning the regions.
Okay, so where does that leave you and Bloc Montreal, right? Like, because it sort of seems like if the Liberals really wanted you, you'd just leave the old party and jump ship, right? So, tell me, what's the commitment level for Bloc Montreal for 4 years from now?
Yeah, so we, I think, are going to have a competitive advantage going forward based on the fact that I think the next Liberal leader is going to be a francophone, probably white, who is going to help them win the regions, and he or she is not going to really be representative of the interests of Montrealers, nor will they have a réflexe Montréal. And that will leave Bloc Montréal in an interesting position to possibly steal a few seats. Last election was the first one. Some good seeds were planted. And if the Liberals continue to negate or ignore Montrealers, I think that could be a positive for a party like Bloc Montréal.
We're with Balarama Holness, who is the leader of Bloc Montréal, the provincial party that launched just before the last provincial election. Balarama, let me ask you this. This may be a difficult question here, but, it was a couple of years back, right, in 2020, that the New York Times had a profile on you, right? It was their Saturday profile. And the headline was "The Man Striving to Be the, quote, Canadian Obama," right? And it was a really glowing profile about you. But now as I look back 2 years later, I wonder if, like a profile like that, in a high-profile place like the New York Times, if it actually hurt you in the sense that it puts so much pressure on you, it puts so much expectations on you to deliver quickly, and you haven't maybe, how do I put it, like, in politics, it seems like you're always going for the top level. Like, it always seems like I want to be the leader of the party. I want to be the top of this. And maybe it has hurt you politically long term because you didn't start off with, maybe just winning a councillor seat in the city and then moving your way up. So do you feel maybe extra pressure, extra expectations that perhaps have hurt you over the last couple of years?
No, well, first of all, the New York Times article is not, big enough to characterize me, right? That's, I don't, personally, I didn't feel any pressure from that, and I don't think any Montrealers saw me as a Canadian Obama. But you do bring up a good point, and this is the reality of it. And I think that we tend to forget the level of success we had at the mayor run, in which we had 10 candidates with above 15%, and I got 23% in Peter McGill. And in a proportional democracy, we would have had at least seven elected officials from the 103. So when it's first past the post, it's really, really easy to say, hey, they were not successful. The same way Éric Duhaime, having 500,000 votes, didn't get anyone elected. So I think that when you actually look at the data, 30,000. There are more people that voted for me that can see a Montreal Canadiens game at the Forum or at the Bell Center. 30,000 people is nothing to balk at. And I think that having close to 100,000 votes, people don't understand that. From the mayorship all the way down to borough councillors, 100,000 people voted for Mouvement Montréal. So it's not just the first past the post equals success. It's also looking at the data. And moreover, and very importantly, what's Valérie talking about right now? A new fiscal pact. There is a new fiscal forum that was just launched by the mayorship. The idea, I'm not saying that she's copying our ideas, but the ideas that we're pushing for during these campaigns are ideas that people actually care about, and they're coming to the forefront. So we're going to see policies advance towards to the way that we want it, and we are pushing for these policies when we're running. So we do see a lot of success, even though we're not first past the post.
So let me ask you this then: for you and for the future, do you view yourself like the next target, and that like a target that you're going to stick with for a while? Is it on the municipal scene? Is it on the provincial scene? And let me point this out: there's going to be a by-election in St. Henry, St. Anne, right? And will you look at that by-election for you yourself to run?
So Bloc Montreal will have a candidate there, and I could tell you firmly, 100%, it won't be me. Moreover, when we look at the data, and Montreal spoke to me, and those of you listening, you'll probably agree with me, is that I have a bigger shot at winning a mayorship than I do at the provincial level when you consider the machine of the Liberal Party of Quebec, Conservative Party, Quebec Solidaire. It's very challenging to win a provincial seat. So, the mayorship, that could be, that's a possibility. But as I stand now, I do not envision currently putting in the time, the energy, the money to getting 14% and running for mayor. So for us, it's the only way that I jump back into any race is if Montrealers demand it. And if we see the polls and the polls point in other directions, to be quite frank, I am going to listen to the polls. For people who are listening, if they want me to continue to run in politics, they're going to have to show that through support and through acknowledgement that they want me to be there. Otherwise, I'm going to listen to the voters and, take care of my baby and go be a corporate lawyer or something.
Balarama, there are many of our listeners that do have that type of support for you. Interesting to see how it all plays out. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.